Babes, good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, bestie, and good morning to everyone tuning in. I am currently staring at you across this table, and I have to say, the energy in this room is completely, feral right now. You are practically vibrating.
I am fully vibrating. I cannot even deny it. I just took the most aggressive sip of this iced mocha right before we started recording, and oh my God, I needed that.
You really did.
Listen, it is Saturday morning. The giant iced mochas are sitting right here. The condensation is actively pooling on the table, and between the excessive amounts of chocolate syrup and this, triple shot of espresso, I am completely activated.
It is fully giving pre-flight adrenaline mixed with severe sugar toxicity, which is honestly the exact right frequency for the timeline we are about to unpack today.
It really is. But first, properly, welcome back to the Snark Squad. We have been absolutely loving how much you are living for the Celebrity Spill segment.
The comments have been amazing.
Babes, this gives us so much more to spiral about. We are living for it. Reading your comments and seeing the breakdowns in the group chats, it just, it validates the sickness.
It absolutely validates the sickness. There is something deeply comforting about waking up, checking the comments, and realizing that thousands of other people have the exact same unhinged, hyper-specific takeaways from a celebrity's Instagram story. We are basically a collective hive mind of gossip analysis at this point.
We truly are. And speaking of a hive mind, I need to set the scene for you guys right now because we are currently operating under some extreme conditions.
Extremely extreme.
We are literally heading to the airport in under 2 hours for our trip to Salem. The bags are packed. Well, I mean, theoretically packed.
I saw your suitcase. It is not packed.
Okay, fine. I still have 3 different types of setting spray scattered across the bathroom counter, but whatever. I'm double-checking our site status every 5 minutes, and there is a very real looming time pressure hanging over this entire apartment. But you know what? We are choosing chaos.
We had to. We were literally zipping the suitcases and staring at the timeline, and we just looked at each other and said, we have to sit down and record. The bags can wait. The TSA line will simply have to accommodate our schedule, because we could not get on a 5-hour flight without breaking this down with you first.
Exactly. But before we get into the actual meat of the drama, babes, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, please.
Help the other snarkers find the mess. The algorithm requires constant feeding, so do your part and hit the buttons.
Feed the machine, guys.
Okay, wait, before we even touch the official celebrity tea, we need to talk about something that just popped up on my For You page, and it has fundamentally rewired my brain.
Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Have you seen the Staples baddie on TikTok?
The corporate rebellion happening in aisle 4. Yes, I am deeply, deeply fascinated by her.
If you haven't seen this, you need to pause and go look her up. It is a girl who literally works at Staples, wearing the standard issue retail uniform. She just walks around the store filming content.
It's incredible.
She is marketing office supplies in the most chaotic, aggressively confident Gen Z way possible. She is holding up reams of printer paper and standard binder clips like they are exclusive, limited edition drops at Paris Fashion Week.
Right.
I have an immediate unhealthy obsession with her entire aesthetic.
What makes it so brilliant from a sociological standpoint is the absolute cognitive dissonance of it all.
Yes.
You expect Staples to be this sterile, hyper-corporate environment. It's the place where dreams go to die under humming fluorescent lighting while you try to figure out which ink cartridge fits a 2014 Brother printer.
Literally the most depressing lighting on earth.
Exactly. And instead you have this employee treating the dry erase marker aisle like it is a VIP section at a club. It completely subverts the expected corporate marketing structure.
Exactly. She is taking something inherently boring and injecting it with sheer personality. And obviously, because my brain works the way it does, it immediately got me spiraling.
Oh, God, here we go.
I looked at that and thought, bestie, can we be dental baddies?
I'm going to need you to unpack dental baddies immediately.
Think about the vision. I see it so clearly. We start walking around local dental offices, filming high-end aesthetic content, marketing standard dentistry like it's a luxury lifestyle brand.
Okay.
Imagine the vibe. Come get your fillings, babes. We are doing fit checks in those heavy lead X-ray aprons.
Uh-huh.
We are showing off the little spit suction tube like it is the new Dyson Airwrap. We are doing high-definition ASMR with the metal plaque scrapers. Do you see the vision?
Okay, my analytical brain is immediately throwing up about 40 red flags here.
You're ruining the vibe.
Hear me out. First of all, the liability. The sheer amount of HIPAA violations you would incur by filming a Get Ready With Me style video while someone is getting a root canal in chair 3.
Okay, minor details.
Second, the medical board would absolutely revoke licenses for treating an extraction like a Sephora haul.
Vesty, you are getting bogged down in the red tape. Forget hypo for a second and think of the engagement.
Engagement?
Yes. People are terrified of the dentist. We would be completely rebranding the oral hygiene experience. It is medical chic. It is clinical glamour.
As much as I want to reject this purely on ethical and medical grounds, I have to admit, I do see the financial potential.
Thank you.
You are tapping into a severely underserved marketing niche. You look at the evolution of corporate social media, like Wendy's being snarky on Twitter, the Duolingo owl menacing people on TikTok, and the next logical step is local medical practices trying to go viral. You are actually ahead of the curve.
Right, so listen to me. American Dental Association, if you're listening to this right now, sponsor the recording.
We are ready for the partnership. Have your people call our people.
Let's break down the business model for them right here, right now. We have the baddie part down to an absolute science. We understand the angles, we understand the audio trends, we know how to edit.
We do?
You guys have the dental part. You have the drills, the chairs, the little paper bibs. All we need is the money part. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship.
It really is.
We are incredibly self-aware, we are slightly delusional, and we will sell the absolute hell out of some preventive fluoride treatments.
The delusion is undeniably the strongest pillar of that business plan, but honestly, stranger things have been monetized in the influencer space. I mean, we live in a world where people are selling bathwater, so luxury dental marketing isn't even the weirdest pitch I've heard this week.
Exactly. We are putting the vision out into the universe. Okay, babes, let's pivot and get into this actual celebrity chaos, because the espresso is officially hitting my bloodstream, and I have so many thoughts.
Let's get into it.
Our mission today is simple. We are ripping through the absolute wildest, most unhinged pop culture and reality TV drama that has dropped in the last 24 hours.
And there's a lot.
So much. We're covering Beverly Hills real estate lawsuits, the deeply depressing financial realities of child stars, some incredibly messy influencer feuds, and we are ending with pure, unfiltered Reddit snark.
It is a densely packed timeline, so let's set the structure. We're going to start with the real estate drama because the sheer scale of the wealth and the liability involved here is fascinating. We need to start in Beverly Hills with Kathy Hilton's injured house guest.
The $50,000 knee. Bestie, when I read this article, my jaw actually dropped.
It's wild.
This right here is exactly why I could never be a billionaire. Well, besides the lack of billions. But the liabilities of owning these massive properties are simply out of control. You invite people over for a lovely afternoon, and suddenly you are in a multi-year legal battle.
So let's lay out the facts of the lawsuit for everyone so we understand exactly what we're dealing with.
Please do.
A woman named Kimberly Heffington has filed a lawsuit against Kathy Hilton over a fall that allegedly took place back in 2024 at Kathy's Bel Air mansion. And we need to provide some context on this house because this isn't a standard suburban split level.
No, it is not.
This is a massive, sprawling 15,000 square foot estate on a prime piece of Bel Air real estate currently valued at $28 million.
It is literally a resort. It has a tennis court, a pool house, sprawling gardens. It is basically its own small municipality.
Exactly. So according to the legal filings, Kimberly claims she was walking from the tennis court to the pool area. During this walk, she allegedly got caught in between uneven pavers, which caused her to fall and severely injure her right knee.
Okay, let's pause right here. Getting caught in uneven pavers or like twisting your ankle on cobblestone is literally a rite of passage for anyone wearing a heel, a wedge, or even just a flat sandal at an outdoor event.
It happens to everyone.
We have all tripped on a paver. The ground shifts, the earth moves. But wait, because the actual injury isn't even the craziest part, tell everyone what she is mathematically demanding in this lawsuit.
This is where the legal strategy gets incredibly aggressive. Kimberly is not just asking for her initial medical bills to be covered. She is demanding more than $50,000 a year for future medical expenses and unspecified damages.
A year?
$50,000 annually, indefinitely.
I am reacting purely on emotion right now, but the absolute unmitigated audacity of asking for a $50,000 annual salary for a scraped knee at a garden party. Are you kidding me?
It's a huge number.
What kind of future medical expenses cost 50 grand a year for a knee injury from a paver? Does she require a brand new custom titanium knee replacement every January? Does she need a live-in physical therapist on retainer? I am unwell over the math here.
The math is definitely geared toward a settlement. In personal injury law, plaintiffs often throw out a massive astronomical number right out of the gate, knowing it will be negotiated down.
Right.
But what is truly interesting here from a legal standpoint is Kathy Hilton's clapback. Kathy's legal team filed court documents raising what is called an affirmative defense.
Okay, break that down for me, because when I read affirmative defense, my brain just assumes it means saying, yes, I did it, but it's your fault.
That's actually pretty close. In tort law, an affirmative defense means the defendant, Kathy in this case, is essentially saying, even if everything the plaintiff claims is true, I still shouldn't be held legally liable because of these specific mitigating factors.
Okay, so what are the factors?
Kathy's lawyers are arguing that Kimberly exposed herself to a known danger and essentially caused her own injury. They are invoking the legal concept of assumption of risk.
A known danger. But
Yeah.
wait, I have to challenge this. Isn't a homeowner essentially always responsible if someone gets hurt on their property?
Generally, yes, premises liability is a thing.
Like if the Amazon delivery guy slips on my icy front steps, my homeowner's insurance is getting sued, and I am probably liable because I didn't salt the ice. Why is a billionaire's estate treated differently? How is walking to a pool a known danger?
That is exactly the point the courts will have to argue. What constitutes a known danger in a meticulously landscaped backyard? If there was a giant, gaping sinkhole next to the tennis court, and Kathy put up yellow caution tape, and Kimberly jumped over the tape and fell in, that is a known danger.
Obviously.
But uneven pavers, unless they were actively shifting like tectonic plates, it's a stretch. The defense is likely arguing that outdoor stone pathways are inherently uneven by design, and anyone walking on them assumes the natural risk of uneven terrain.
I am screaming at the idea of Kathy's lawyers arguing that the stones are just doing what stones do.
It's very that.
Honestly, maybe the known danger is just being in the general vicinity of the Hiltons. You enter the wrought iron gates of a $28 million Bel Air mansion, and you as legally assume the risk of bodily harm by sheer proximity to that level of wealth, reality TV cameras, and ambient chaos.
It's an occupational hazard of the zip code, but if we pull back and look at the bigger picture here, it highlights the immense hidden headache of owning these massive pieces of iconic real estate.
Oh, for sure.
When you have a 15,000 square foot property with custom stonework, imported Italian tiles, and winding pathways, every single inch of it is a potential liability. If you host a party with 200 people, statistically, someone is going to trip. The insurance policies on these estates must be astronomically high.
Which perfectly transitions us into the other major real estate crisis happening in California right now. Because if we are talking about massive estates and the headache of holding on to them, we have to talk about Kris Jenner.
Oh, yes.
Kris Jenner is selling the iconic Keeping Up with the Kardashians mansion in Hidden Hills.
Yes, the house with the legendary black and white checkered foyer, the absolute epicenter of 2010's pop culture and reality television. Kris has officially relisted the six-bedroom, nearly 9,000 square foot mansion for $13 million.
Wait, but she already listed this house recently, right? Am I having deja vu?
You're not. She originally put it on the market just a few months ago in February 2025 for $13.5 million. And according to the real estate report, she actually received multiple offers almost immediately.
Oh, wow. So people wanted it.
They did, but then she stalled. She pulled the listing off the market because she allegedly got sentimental and had second thoughts about whether she should keep it as a long-term legacy family asset.
Okay, I have to be completely honest here. I know we snark on them, but I would be deeply emotional about selling that house too.
Really?
Yes. Think about what actually happened inside those walls. That specific piece of real estate birthed a billionaire empire. Kim lived there during her own sprawling home renovations with Kanye.
That's true.
Rob and Dream lived there. Kendall and Kylie literally spent their entire formative, turbulent teenage years running up and down those stairs. That massive kitchen island has seen more culturally shifting, aggressive salad shaking in plastic bowls than any other location on planet Earth. It is a historical landmark.
You're not wrong about the historical significance. If pop culture had a registry of historic places, that house would be on it. But I have to push back hard on this sentimentality narrative.
You don't buy it.
Let's look at the mechanics of Beverly Hills real estate. Do we really, truly believe that Kris Jenner, the ultimate matriarch momager, a woman whose brain operates as a constantly updating spreadsheet of asset diversification and return on investment, was sitting alone in that empty checkered foyer crying over old memories?
I mean, she's human.
Or did she list it for $13.5 million look at the initial offers, realize the luxury market might be shifting due to interest rates, pull it off the market to create scarcity, and decide to relist it later to manufacture a bidding war.
Oh, wow. Okay, see, this is why I need you here.
So-
Because my chaotic emotional heart is like, oh, Kris is walking through Kylie's old bedroom, tracing the walls, missing the lip kit era.
Yep.
But you are entirely right. She is a businesswoman first, second, and third. But wait, if she relisted it now for $13 million, that means she dropped the price by $500,000 from the February listing.
Exactly. And that price drop completely punctures the sentimentality argument. If it was purely an emotional decision about keeping the legacy in the family for her grandchildren, a $500K price drop wouldn't suddenly make her ready to hand over the keys.
That makes so much sense.
What likely happened is the math caught up to her. The carrying costs of an 8,800 square foot mansion, like the property taxes in Hidden Hills, the landscaping, the climate control, the security, the maintenance, are massive.
It has to be thousands a day.
Easily. Paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to maintain an empty museum just didn't make financial sense anymore. Tomer Friedman has the listing now, and it will be fascinating to see the psychology of the buyer. Do you buy it to live in, or do you buy it for the clout of saying you own the Kardashian house?
Imagine buying it and trying to decorate that black and white foyer with anything other than the aggressive Kardashian energy. It would never work.
You really couldn't.
You couldn't put, like, a cozy farmhouse chic dining table in there. The house would physically reject it. The architecture demands acrylic chairs, massive mirrored tables, and absolute drama.
It demands an aesthetic that very few people can pull off. But connecting this back to the broader theme, it's an interesting pivot. We look at these sprawling estates, Kathy's $28 million compound, Kris's $13 million legacy home, and we inherently associate television stars with unlimited, impenetrable generational wealth.
Right, you assume they are all billionaires.
But when you strip away the real estate portfolios and look at the actual financial mechanics of being a star in a different era, the facade completely cracks. Which brings us to our next major topic.
Oh, bestie, you are talking about Jodie Sweetin. I have to tell you, reading this source material made me genuinely, deeply sad. I'm devastated for her.
We really need to unpack the mechanics of this because it is a glaring indictment of the current entertainment industry. So, Jodie Sweetin, who played Stephanie Tanner on Full House, which is objectively one of the most successful, culturally pervasive, universally beloved sitcoms of all time, just revealed the harsh reality of her current residual earnings.
It is so bleak. Break down exactly what happened.
She recently received a residual check in the mail for her starring role on Full House, a show that is still actively watched by millions of people, and the amount printed on the check was exactly 1 cent, one single penny.
I could literally cry for her. This is Stephanie Tanner. The catchphrase, "How rude," is permanently etched into the global cultural lexicon.
It really is.
She gave her entire childhood to that character,
Mhm.
and she is getting a physical check for 1 cent. How is that even physically, administratively possible? It costs more for the studio to print the paper, stuff the envelope, and pay for the postage stamp than the check is actually worth.
It is deeply insulting. And to understand how a 1 cent check gets generated, we have to look at the complete destruction of the old syndication model by the streaming era.
Tell me, because I don't get the math.
Jodie explained the mechanics of this perfectly on a recent podcast appearance. Back in the day, the financial holy grail for an actor was getting on a hit network show that reached the 100-episode mark. Once you hit 100 episodes, the show went into syndication.
Right, which meant they could sell the rerun rights to local cable networks across the country and the world.
Exactly. It would play on TBS, on Nick at Night, on local affiliates in every single market, every single day. And the actors' union contracts dictated that every single time an episode aired on television, the actors got a cut.
Like a royalty.
Yes. It was a sliding scale, but it was a consistent revenue stream. You could literally live off of syndication checks for the rest of your life if you were on a massive hit. But now, the entire landscape has shifted. Everything lives on streaming platforms.
And streaming platforms completely rigged the game. Because instead of getting paid per airing, the platforms just pay the studio a fixed, flat licensing fee to house the show on their servers.
Precisely.
It doesn't matter how many times the show is actually watched. So Full House could be streamed 1 billion times this month on Max or Hulu by a whole new generation of kids, and Jodie gets absolutely nothing extra. Her residual is tied to an outdated formula that results in a penny.
That is the exact mechanism. The algorithms hide the actual viewership data, so the actors have no leverage to demand a fair cut of the ad revenue or subscriber revenue that their specific show is generating. It is a closed loop of profit for the executives.
It's infuriating.
And Jodie was incredibly transparent about how this impacts her real life. She admitted that she drives a used 2023 Hyundai Sonata. She rents her house. She has maxed out credit cards. She explicitly stated there are times when you're like, I need a day job.
It is a massive, sobering reality check for anyone who thinks being famous equals being rich.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I have so much respect for her honesty. She didn't try to hide behind a fake luxury aesthetic.
No, she kept it very real.
But I am furious at the system. She entertained millions of people for 8 seasons and then came back and did it again for Fuller House.
This connects directly back to the root cause of the SAG-AFTRA strikes we saw recently. This was the exact issue the actors were fighting for.
Right, the streaming residuals.
We saw Mandy Moore posting photos of checks for 81 cents for This Is Us, a massive Emmy-winning network hit that was the biggest show on television just a few years ago.
That is insane.
The illusion of Hollywood wealth is so incredibly strong. But unless you are the creator of the show and executive producer with back-end points, or you successfully pivot your fame into a massive owned lifestyle brand, the money literally dries up the second the cameras stop rolling. You are essentially just a gig worker with a recognizable face.
A gig worker with a recognizable face. That is so depressing, but it's the exact truth. It makes me really appreciate the child stars who look at this broken system, realize they cannot rely on studio residuals, and figure out a way to pivot and actually own their businesses outright.
It's the only way to survive it now.
Which brings us perfectly to Kalani Golden from Dance Moms.
This is a fascinating contrast in generational wealth building. Kalani is officially opening her own dance studio.
I love leaving reality TV to build a real, tangible business arc. I really do. She survived the absolute trauma trenches of the Abbey Lee Dance Company, and now she is taking that capitalized fame, taking her actual talent, and building her own floor.
She signed a lease back in April for a 3,500 square foot commercial space in North Scottsdale, Arizona, which is right near where she grew up. She is aiming to have it fully renovated and running for the 2026-2027 dance season.
That is coming up fast.
It is, and she's planning to offer classes for everyone, from toddlers all the way up to a pre-professional elite competition team.
See, I love the ambition. That is true Both energy. You take the brand recognition you earned as a child, and you convert it into a brick-and-mortar cash-flowing asset.
It's a solid plan.
But we do need to talk about the aesthetic vision she has for this studio, because I have thoughts.
Oh, we absolutely have to discuss the aesthetics, because she described the specific vibe she is going for in an interview, and she said she wants it to feel softer than a typical high-intensity competitive studio.
Define softer.
She wants a light, airy, dreamy atmosphere featuring creams, browns, and soft pops of burgundy.
Besky, the sad beige children of the internet have finally grown up, and they are now opening sad beige dance studios.
I am sarcastically side-eyeing this color palette so hard.
I knew you would.
From a psychological standpoint, I completely understand wanting to create a welcoming, soft environment, especially considering the literal psychological warfare and screaming she endured in Pittsburgh with Abby Lee Miller. She wants the anti-Abby studio. But let's look at the functional reality here. Dance is a high-intensity, high-energy, incredibly sweaty athletic sport. Why does the physical space need to look like the waiting room of a luxury Scottsdale med spa?
Right. You are doing pirouettes and floor work, not getting Botox.
Exactly. Creams and browns. Let's talk about maintenance. How long until a 6-year-old in the toddler class drags a dirty, scuffed black tap shoe across a pristine, cream-colored wall? It is going to look like a disaster zone in 3 days.
The daily maintenance on a beige dance studio is going to be an absolute nightmare. The magic eraser budget alone will bankrupt the business.
Truly.
But I have to play devil's advocate here. I actually get what she's doing. She isn't just selling dance classes, she is selling an aesthetic. She is specifically marketing to the affluent North Scottsdale moms who want their kids to dance in a space that perfectly matches their curated Instagram grids.
Oh, the target demographic.
Yes, those moms don't want neon lights and primary colors. They want soft lighting and neutrals. It is actually genius target marketing, even if the reality of keeping a sweaty room brown and cream is highly questionable.
You know what? That is a fair point. It is brilliant marketing for that specific demographic, and it highlights the massive difference between Kalani's generation of child stars and Jodie Sweetin's generation.
Totally different playbooks.
Kalani inherently knows that her name is the product, and she is building a localized empire around it. But if we want to talk about the absolute newest generation of child wells, the kids who are essentially born as fully formed LLCs, we have to talk about Northwest and Axel Wayans.
Northwest is 12 years old, and she is terrifyingly powerful.
Yeah.
I am intimidated by a middle schooler.
As you should be. The moves she's making are unprecedented for her age. North just dropped her debut 6-track EP, appropriately titled N-Lurth Forever.
Icon behavior already.
And to celebrate the launch, she didn't just throw a roller skating party like a normal 12-year-old. She held a literal, curated pop-up shop at Complex LA's Fairfax location.
The fashion alone at this event was giving me anxiety in the absolute best way possible. North rocked this spiked blue hair, completely channeling early 2000s grunge.
It was a look.
She looked so incredibly cool, and Bianca Censori was there supporting her. Bianca completely matched the grunge aesthetic with these massive red platform boots, ginger hair, and an eyebrow piercing.
Kanye was there too, right?
Yes. Kanye was literally standing right there, happily signing merch for fans alongside his 12-year-old daughter.
It is a deeply fascinating family and business dynamic to observe. She's 12, and she is curating pop-up shops on Fairfax, which is the epicenter of streetwear culture.
It's wild.
She is building a retail and music empire before she even hits high school. She is involved in the creative direction, the styling, the marketing. But contrast that level of active involvement with another celebrity kid making moves right now.
Who?
Marlon Wayans' 3-year-old daughter, Axel.
A literal toddler. A child who just learned to walk.
A literal toddler. According to court documents that surfaced from Marlon's ongoing custody and child support battle with his ex, Brittany Moreland, 3-year-old Axel signed a union contract to appear in a movie called Hudson Avenue, playing the role of Princess Axel.
Okay.
And the documents reveal she is making a daily rate of $1,246.
A 3-year-old is making $1,200 a day.
Yeah.
I am spiraling. When I was 3 years old, my primary occupation was eating dirt and refusing to nap. I didn't have a daily rate. I didn't even have a weekly allowance.
It raises such a provocative question about the mechanics of child stardom today. From a legal standpoint, a child actor's earnings in California are protected by something called the Coogan Act.
Right, I've heard of that.
This law requires that 15% of all the child's gross earnings must be deposited into a blocked trust account, a Coogan account, that the parents cannot touch and the child can access when they turn 18. This was literally created because Jackie Coogan, a child star in the 1920s, had all his millions stolen by his parents.
Okay, wait, let me push back on this. So 15% goes into a trust. What happens to the other 85%?
That is the incredibly murky part. The parents are supposed to use it for the child's care, acting expenses, agents, managers, taxes, but practically it often just becomes family income.
Yikes.
So the question becomes, is it better to be Northwest, heavily involved, creatively engaged, building an empire that she clearly wants to build at 12 years old, or is it better to be like Axel, completely unaware of what is happening, just showing up to a soundstage, hitting her mark, and getting a union daily rate deposited at 3 years old?
Honestly, it's a terrifying double-edged sword. With North, you can clearly see the passion and the drive, but you also see the immense crushing pressure of the public eye. She cannot make a single mistake without millions of people analyzing it.
Absolutely.
With Axel, she's just showing up, looking cute, and banking $1,000 a day. But both of them are fundamentally being monetized by their parents in completely different ways. It is a lot of psychological weight to unpack for these kids.
It is a massive weight. And the pressure of the public eye doesn't magically stop when you grow up. It just shifts into different areas of your life, primarily into your romantic relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
Which brings us to our next block of sources, absolute relationship mess and the strategic influencer feuds happening right now. We have to start with Megan Thee Stallion.
I will aggressively defend Megan Thee Stallion until the end of time, period. Whatever she does, I support it.
As you should, because her resilience is unmatched. So the drama here revolves around her recent Broadway stint. Megan was doing a guest star run in Moulin Rouge, the musical.
She was killing it.
By all accounts, she was an absolute standout. The critics loved her, the box office surged, she was getting massive praise. But she just abruptly exited the production 2 weeks early.
The photos of her leaving the theater after her final bow were so telling. She was spotted leaving at 1:30 a.m., and she looked exhausted but also somehow relieved. The report said she had literally teared up on stage during her final performance.
And we know exactly why the emotional toll became too much. Just days before this exit, she publicly announced her split from NBA star Klay Thompson.
Yep.
And the statement she released through her rep was so incredibly pointed and definitive. She said, "Trust, fidelity, and respect are non-negotiable for me, and when those values are compromised, there's no real path forward. I'm taking this time to prioritize myself and move ahead with peace and clarity."
I react so emotionally to this because I feel that statement in my soul. I completely aggressively defend her choice to leave Broadway early.
Oh, 100%.
I saw people online criticizing her, saying, oh, the show must go on, you signed a contract, it's unprofessional. No. If your mental health is in the gutter because your partner completely violated your trust and respect in a highly public way, you do not need to strap yourself into a corset and sing high-energy show tunes for tourists in Times Square.
You really do.
The theater has understudies for a reason. You go home, you heal your heart, and you prioritize your peace. Her emotional exit is completely 100% valid.
I completely agree with you on the human level. From an analytical perspective, let's just state the obvious. Klay Thompson fumbled spectacularly.
So badly.
You have a Grammy-winning, gorgeous, deeply talented, universally beloved woman who has already survived so much public trauma, and you compromise her trust. It is foolish beyond belief. But strategically, looking at how this was handled, Meghan's PR team deserves an industry award for that statement.
Break down why, because I just thought it was a classy breakup post.
It is a masterclass in crisis communications and boundary setting. It was surgically clean. By explicitly listing trust, fidelity, and respect as the compromise values, it clearly implies that he cheated or betrayed her, without her having to get into messy, drag-out, tabloid-level details.
Right. She doesn't get her hands dirty.
Exactly. It controls the narrative instantly. Furthermore, by framing her early Broadway exit not as a failure to fulfill a contract, but as a deliberate, empowered act of self-care and boundary setting, they completely neutralize the backlash from theater purists. She didn't quit. She chose peace. It is brilliant PR.
It truly is. She took the absolute high road while simultaneously making sure everyone knew he was the one in the gutter.
I
love that for her.
Me too.
And speaking of high-profile guys in the gutter, can we just take a quick palate-cleansing second to laugh at the chaos between Kevin Hart and The Rock?
We need the comedic relief.
Yeah.
So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got pulled over by the cops in Los Angeles for heavily tinted windows.
Just a normal LA day.
A very minor, standard celebrity traffic violation. But Kevin Hart happened to be in Miami at Carbone Beach Club, and the paparazzi caught up with him and asked him about Dwayne's run-in with the law.
Bestie. Kevin Hart looked dead into the camera lens without missing a single beat and called Dwayne a piece of S.
It's so funny.
And then he joked that he was the one who called the cops on him.
The paparazzi was so stunned by the aggression that he asked him again to clarify, and Kevin just doubled down. Piece of S. It is the highest possible tier of elite millionaire best friend banter.
I love their chaotic friendship energy so much, but it really makes you think about celebrity friendships. Is this just great PR cross-promotion, or is this genuine?
Both, probably.
Honestly, if your best friend doesn't immediately try to frame you for a petty crime when talking to the paparazzi, are they really your best friend?
Exactly. It is a beautifully healthy form of toxicity. But you know what isn't healthy toxicity? Whatever the hell is happening right now between Lauren Burnham and Alex Cooper.
Okay, we need to buckle up because this is incredibly dark and messy.
It is genuinely uncomfortable. So, Bachelor alum Lauren Burnham, who is married to Ari Lewandike Jr., took to TikTok this week to explicitly explain exactly why she hates his guys, call her daddy host Alex Cooper.
And she did not hold back a single detail.
Not at all. Lauren explained that years ago when she was pregnant with her first child, Alessi, Alex Cooper allegedly had a recurring segment on her podcast where she made fun of and sexualized their unborn baby.
I am fundamentally disgusted by this. I am appalled at the concept of snarking on a literal fetus.
It's crossing a massive line.
Lauren said in the video, make fun of us, don't care. But they took it too far, talking very inappropriately and disgustingly about her. That is so entirely out of bounds. You can snark on reality stars all day long. We do it. We analyze their choices, their outfits, their public statements. But you do not cross the line into sexualizing a pregnancy or a baby. It is vile behavior.
It really is.
Lauren even mentioned they almost hired a lawyer back then to send the cease and desist. but they ultimately decided not to give it more attention at the time.
It is objectively crossing a massive, indefensible ethical line. There is no PR spin that defends targeting an unborn child for shock value podcast fodder. However, I have to put my cynical analytical hat on for a second and look at the mechanics of this drop.
Oh boy, I know where you're going with this.
Look at the timeline. Why bring this up now? This alleged incident happened years ago. The Lewandykes moved past it. They had 3 more children. They built their lives. Why is Lauren filming a highly produced TikTok about this specific old trauma today?
Because Alex Cooper is currently caught in a massive, highly public, career-damaging feud with Alex Earl.
Exactly. Bingo. Lauren explicitly posted on her Instagram stories right after the TikTok that she is Team Alex Earl all the way and that it is about time Alex Cooper gets called out.
Oh, the plot thickens.
Lauren is expertly capitalizing on the algorithm and the massive momentum of the Alex Earl feud to settle a very old, very personal score. She saw the chink in Alex Cooper's armor. She realized public opinion and the TikTok algorithm were shifting aggressively against Alex, and she struck when the iron was hottest to get her revenge.
Wow. When you lay it out like that, it is so incredibly calculated. But honestly, I don't even blame her. If someone with a massive platform said those things about my unborn baby, I would wait 10 years in the shadows for the perfect algorithmic moment to drop the receipts.
You absolutely would.
It is karma working efficiently through the TikTok For You page.
It is a masterful deployment of grievances, but it also highlights something deeper about how incredibly toxic the influencer and podcasting space can be, especially when it intersects with motherhood and women's bodies. The constant scrutiny is relentless.
It really is.
Which actually leads us perfectly into our next major topic. We need to talk about the physical realities of body image and fertility, starting with Ashley Graham.
This Ashley Graham interview really got to me. She was profiled in Marie Claire, and she did not hold back about the current Ozempic and GLP-1 era we are living in.
She called the current weight loss drug trend a smack in the face to the body positivity movement. She said it is deeply disheartening because there was a decade-long pendulum swing toward body acceptance, and now it has just completely swung back the opposite way in the blink of an eye.
And what I loved most about this interview was that she wasn't just sitting on a high horse judging people. Her nuance was incredible. She openly admitted that she is personally struggling with her own body right now.
Yeah, that part was powerful.
She had twin boys a year ago. She has 3 sons total with her husband, Justin Irvin. And she said she's having a profoundly hard time accepting her postpartum body.
Her exact quote was so striking and vulnerable. She said, "I'm living in a different body, and it's been hard to get to know her. I was as fit as I could be in 2019 when I got pregnant. She's gone. Let's focus on the new girl."
I deeply, deeply relate to that emotional struggle. The mourning of a past version of your physical self. It is such a complex grief. When you look in the mirror and your logical brain knows, wow, I created human life. My body is a literal miracle. But your emotional brain is screaming, none of my clothes fit, and I don't recognize the person looking back at me.
It's such a common feeling.
It is a brutal mind game.
Yeah.
And for a supermodel who literally pioneered the modern body positivity movement, to admit she doesn't always love what she sees in the mirror, that is radical honesty.
It is radical, and it is necessary to hear right now. Because if we analyze the cultural whiplash we are all experiencing, it is profound. We need to talk about the mechanics of how fast this happened.
It felt like it happened overnight.
It really did. We spent the last 10 years culturally preaching body acceptance, inclusivity, and loving yourself at any size. Brands spent millions expanding their sizing. Models of all shapes were finally walking high-fashion runways. The culture felt like it was shifting permanently.
It felt real.
And then, the literal second a weekly injection, a GLP-1 receptor agonist, became widely available and culturally acceptable in Hollywood, the entire industry instantly pivoted right back to the ultra-thin, heroin-chic aesthetic of the late 90s.
Instantly. It gave everyone a whiplash. But wait, break down the mechanics of that. Why did the fashion industry pivot back so fast? Was the inclusivity just a lie?
From an economic and manufacturing standpoint, inclusivity is expensive for fashion houses. Making clothes in a size 0 requires less fabric, simpler patterns, and less structural engineering than making clothes in a size 16.
Okay, that makes sense on a practical level.
The high fashion industry always preferred the sample size 0 because it essentially turns the human body into a coat hanger. The clothes hang identically on everyone. They tolerated inclusivity because the cultural pressure demanded it. But the moment GLP-1 drugs, which chemically slow gastric emptying and interact with the brain's hunger signals to cause rapid weight loss, became the norm in celebrity circles, the designers immediately reverted to their baseline preference.
That is so dark. So it proved that for the corporate gatekeepers, the body positivity movement was just the PR trend they tolerated because they didn't have a fast, accessible medical alternative to offer the masses.
Precisely.
Ashley Graham is watching the architecture of the movement she helped build get dismantled by a peptide. That has to feel incredibly isolating, especially while she's privately navigating her own postpartum physical changes.
It has to be maddening. And speaking of the intense, often invisible struggles of motherhood, we also got a really beautiful update from JoJo Fletcher.
We did. A rare moment of genuine sweetness on our timeline today, and honestly, we needed it.
We really did. Bachelorette star JoJo Fletcher is celebrating her first Mother's Day with her baby girl, Romy, who was born via emergency C-section just before Christmas in 2025. But she opened up to Us Weekly about how heartbreaking the journey was to get to this specific holiday.
Right, because she and her husband, Jordan Rogers, dealt with a very painful miscarriage and a long, quiet fertility struggle before finally having Romy.
She said, "You don't know if it's going to be easy, if it's going to be hard, how long it's going to take. I got pregnant a long time ago and miscarried, and then tried for a long time after that." And she specifically mentioned that last year, even though she was technically pregnant with Romy on Mother's Day, she entirely refused to celebrate it.
That is so common.
She wouldn't let Jordan buy her flowers or acknowledge the day because of the trauma and the paralyzing fear of losing the pregnancy again.
That broke my heart. That is such a common, yet rarely spoken about, trauma response for women who have experienced pregnancy loss. You guard your heart so fiercely that you deny yourself any celebration because you are terrified it will be taken away the second you acknowledge it. It is self-preservation.
Absolutely.
And if we look at this alongside Ashley Graham, you have Ashley being incredibly honest about the visible, physical, and emotional struggles after birth. And you have JoJo being incredibly honest about the invisible, heartbreaking struggles of trying to give birth.
It is a powerful juxtaposition. It just reminds you that you literally never know what the woman standing next to you in line is going through, whether it's mourning an old body, fighting for a new life, or just trying to survive the day with her mental health intact. The transparency from both of them is commendable.
Absolutely.
No.
Okay, we have had our moment of sweetness, empathy, and deep sociological reflection. It is time to plunge back into the deepest, darkest, most chaotic snark we have on the docket today.
Oh, God. Yes, I'm embracing myself.
Bestie, take a sip of your coffee. Let's get into the pure chaos in Reddit snark, starting with Courtney Stodden.
I cannot even believe this is a real news story. When I read the alert, I thought it was a parody account.
It is pure, unadulterated camp. So Courtney Stodden dropped their phone while leaving a restaurant. In an attempt to pick it up, they did a literal full-out Elle Woods bend and snap, and in the process, violently gashed their head on a heavy wooden hostess stand.
Violently is the correct word. TMZ posted the video footage, and it was a bloody mess, literal blood rushing down their face. It required immediate medical intervention.
And what are the priorities when one is bleeding profusely from a blunt force head wound? You rush to the ER, you get the necessary stitches to close the gaping wound, and then you immediately go straight to an eyelash appointment.
Obviously. The medical triage protocol clearly states, stop the bleeding, secure the synthetic minks.
Because Courtney had a PETA appearance scheduled for the next day, and they literally shrugged off the pain of the head wound, telling the paparazzi that the pain they are experiencing is just a drop in the bucket compared to what mistreated animals endure in captivity.
That is the most profound 2000s reality TV logic I have ever heard in my entire life. Bleeding out from a head wound, but making sure the lashes are glued down tight for the animals. It is performance art.
It really is.
You cannot script this level of dedication to the aesthetic and the cause simultaneously. It shows a fascinating survival instinct honed by years of tabloid training.
I'm crying laughing just picturing it.
Yeah.
Never mind my bloody noggin, the minks have it worse. It is so unhinged. But honestly, good for them. Powering through for PETA, they understand the assignment.
They absolutely understand the assignment. But if we want to talk about truly unhinged behavior and people who completely fail to understand the assignment, we have to look at the r/TeenMomOG and TeenMom2 subreddit today. Because Janelle Evans is getting absolutely dragged through the digital mud.
Dragged through the mud, over the hot pavement, and directly into the sun. My group chats have been on fire over this all morning. Let me set the context for everyone who isn't deep in the teen mom lore.
Please do.
Janelle posted an Instagram update with her 16-year-old son, Jace. They're out on a lake in a kayak. The caption reads, "Therapy and kayaking with my best friend, both working on ourselves at the same time."
Okay, we need to carefully unpack the dense layers of delusion here, because context is absolutely everything in this situation. Jace recently spent significant time in a holistic mental health facility after a severe crisis where he allegedly pulled a gun on relatives. This child is going through profound, deep-seated, incredibly dangerous trauma.
Trauma that, let's be incredibly real, stems heavily from his chaotic, televised upbringing. She abandoned him. She signed over custody to his grandmother Barb for most of his life, and now he is 16, struggling massively with the fallout of his childhood, and she has the absolute audacity to post him on a kayak for a PR spin.
It's wild.
I am furious on his behalf. Parents who use their kids' actual, literal mental health crises as props for their own Instagram redemption arcs make me physically sick.
It is textbook narcissistic behavior, and the Reddit snarkers, who act as essentially decentralized archival journalists for these reality stars, caught it immediately. Let's analytically dissect the language in that caption. My best friend. Janelle, you did not raise this child for the first decade of his life.
Exactly.
Calling a child you didn't raise your best friend the minute they are legally returned to your custody amidst a severe psychological crisis is wild manipulation. You are his mother, not his peer.
It's so manipulative. It places this weird, inappropriate burden of friendship on a kid who just needs a stable parent.
Exactly. And then the second part of the caption, both working on ourselves at the same time.
Oh my God, this is the part that set me over the absolute edge.
She inherently has to center herself in his crisis. He is in a facility to heal from severe trauma, and she equates his psychological battle to her working on herself. And we need to remind the listeners what physical ailment Janelle is currently recovering from while she works on herself.
Bestie, I cannot say this without laughing. She is currently rocking crutches for an inflamed fat pad knee injury, which, by the way, she allegedly got while drunk on a date with David Eason.
Let's explain the medical reality of this because it makes it even funnier. An inflamed fat pad, also known as Hoffa's syndrome, is literally just inflammation of the soft tissue under the kneecap. It's painful, sure, but it is not a devastating, life-altering trauma. The juxtaposition is staggering.
It's insane.
Jace is battling severe mental health demons, and Janelle is hobbling around on crutches, milking an inflamed fat pad for maximum sympathy. The subreddit is destroying her. One commenter summed it up perfectly, writing, "Her son has a mental breakdown, and this woman is such a narcissist, she has to insert herself as a main character in his recovery."
They also pointed out the basic physical impossibility of her narrative. Someone commented, "So she's kayaking with Jace while rehabbing a devastating knee injury. How do you get into a low-sitting kayak which requires deep knee flexion and core stability with an inflamed fat pad that supposedly requires crutches, Janelle? Make the logistics make sense."
It doesn't make sense because it is not reality. It is just content. It is a highly manufactured, performative photo op designed to communicate, look, I am a good, attentive mom doing wholesome outdoor activities with my troubled teen, while completely ignoring the gravity of the actual situation. It is bleak.
It is so incredibly bleak. I just want Jace to have peace. I want him away from the NTV cameras, away from the Instagram captions, away from the comment sections, and just given a private, quiet chance to heal.
Agreed. The internet is forever, and these kids didn't ask for their trauma to be public.
Okay, we need to take a very quick music detour before we wrap up and literally run to our gate.
Mm-hmm.
Post Malone just made a massive announcement.
Yes, he is abruptly delaying the first 3 weeks of his highly anticipated upcoming tour with Jelly Roll. He posted a video on Instagram and literally just said, "We ain't ready." He explained that he needs more time to finish a badass double album, and he explicitly, preemptively denied the rumors that the delay is due to poor ticket sales.
Okay, my emotional reaction first. I love Posty. I think he is incredibly talented, and I am honestly just glad he is taking his time and prioritizing the quality of the art rather than burning himself out on a tour he isn't creatively prepared for.
That's a very generous take.
But my God, we didn't sell enough tickets. Allegations always sting. Whenever an artist delays a tour, the internet immediately assumes they couldn't fill the seats. It is the ultimate embarrassment for a musician in the current touring economy.
It is. But let's look at the sheer logistics and economics here. Who books a massive multi-city arena or stadium tour, sells the tickets to fans, hires the massive production crew, books the venues, secures the massive insurance policies, and then says, wait, the music isn't finished yet? How do you schedule a massive tour around a double album that you haven't actually finished recording?
That is chaotic planning. That is Kendall Roy-level logistics.
It is terrible management on his team's part, whether it's actually about low ticket sales or genuinely about finishing the record in the studio. Moving a stadium tour 3 weeks out costs millions of dollars in logistical reshuffling.
Yeah.
You have to pay retainers for the crew, renegotiate venue dates, and handle millions in ticket refunds for people who can't make the new dates.
A mess.
But honestly, a Post Malone double album sounds incredible, and if he genuinely needs 3 weeks to perfect the mix, the true fans will wait.
They absolutely will. The demand is there. Bestie, I am looking at the clog on the wall, and I am officially sweating. We have to go.
We do. Our window is closing rapidly. But before we wrap this up and sprint through the TSA pre-check line, I want to leave everyone with a final provocative thought to chew on today based on everything we just discussed.
Hit me. Leave us spiraling.
We talked a lot today about the vastly different eras of child stars and the mechanics of their wealth and trauma. When we look at kids like Northwest, 12 years old, backed by billionaires, building literal retail empires, fully protected by trusts and defining culture, and then we look at kids like Jace Evans, 16 years old, struggling deeply with mental health, being used as an Instagram prop for his mother's reality TV redemption arc.
Yeah.
What does the future actually look like for this first generation of children whose entire lives, every tantrum, every milestone, every private trauma, were broadcast for our entertainment before they could even speak? Are we watching the creation of incredibly savvy moguls, or are we just the complicit audience in a massive real-time psychological experiment?
Wow. That is heavy. It's the ultimate Truman Show generation, and we are all holding the remote control. That is absolutely going to keep me up on this flight.
Chew on it while we fly.
Okay, I am literally grabbing my tote bag right now. I am slamming the absolute last drop of this iced mocha. We have to run.
The Uber is definitely idling outside.
Babes, we are so incredibly excited to head to the airport and finally get to Salem. The witchy content we are going to film is going to be out of control. Thank you, our incredible Snark squad, for tuning in today, for supporting this messy, chaotic segment, and for choosing to start your Saturday morning spiraling with us.
We love you guys so much. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, rate the show 5 stars on whatever app you use, and share this recording directly into your group chats so we can keep the conversation going.
Stay caffeinated, stay chaotic.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the Snark side.